I am Anna Marie, and what started as the worst family vacation of my life became the catalyst for the most important transformation I've ever experienced. 3 days into my solo Hawaiian adventure, I made a decision that would either repair my family relationships forever or destroy them completely. The confrontation that followed revealed truths that none of us were prepared for. For the first 2 days in Hawaii, I kept my phone turned off, immersing myself in the peaceful atmosphere of my beachfront hotel. I swam in the ocean each morning, hiked to a nearby waterfall, and read books on my balcony. The absence of family drama felt like a luxury more extravagant than the plush resort accommodations. On the third morning, I finally powered on my phone, bracing myself for the barrage of messages that would surely await me. I was not disappointed. There were 37 missed calls, 63 text messages, and numerous voicemails, all from my family members. The texts ranged from my father's angry demands to my mother's guilt-inducing laments to Stephanie's self-centered complaints. As I scrolled through them, I noticed a progression. An anger to worry, to bargaining, to more anger. The most recent ones had a desperate quality. "Mom, please just let us know you are okay. Your father is beside himself with worry." "Dad, this has gone on long enough, Anna Marie. We need to talk. Call immediately." "Stephanie, the resort keeps messing up our orders and Dad is in a terrible mood. This vacation is a disaster and it is all your fault." I considered my options. I could continue to ignore them for the remainder of the trip, but that felt like avoidance rather than boundary setting. I needed to face them directly and establish new terms for our relationship moving forward. I typed a brief direct message to my father. "I am staying at the Royal Hawaiian Resort. I will meet you all for dinner at the Oceanside restaurant there at 7 tonight. I am safe and have been enjoying my vacation." His reply came almost instantly. "We will be there." I spent the rest of the day preparing myself mentally for the confrontation ahead. I swam laps in the hotel pool trying to work off my nervous energy, then treated myself to a massage to calm my frayed nerves. By the time I dressed for dinner, I felt centered and resolved. I arrived at the restaurant early and requested a table on the outdoor terrace with some privacy. The hostess, perhaps sensing my tension, selected a corner table partially screened by tropical plants but with a stunning ocean view. At exactly 7, my family appeared at the restaurant entrance. They spotted me immediately, and I watched their expressions shift as they approached. My father looked stern but controlled my mother anxious and Stephanie sullen. "Anna Marie," my father said stiffly as they reached the table. No hug, no warm greeting, just my name pronounced like a judgment. "Thank you for coming," I replied, calmly gesturing for them to sit. An uncomfortable silence fell as they took their seats. A server appeared immediately to take drink orders, providing a momentary reprieve from the tension. Once the server departed, my mother burst out. "How could you put us through this? We have been worried sick. I texted that I was safe," I pointed out, "and Dad hit me in public. I needed space to process that." It was barely a tap my father dismissed, though he could not quite meet my eyes. "You were being difficult and causing a scene. I refused to carry Stephanie's excessive bags. That hardly justifies physical assault." My father flushed red. "Do not be so dramatic. It was a family matter that you have blown completely out of proportion." "A family matter?" I repeated slowly. "Is that how you justify it? Would you have hit one of your employees if they refused to carry something? Would you have hit a stranger, or is it only acceptable to hit me because I am your daughter?" He had no ready answer for that. Stephanie, apparently tired of not being the center of attention, jumped in. "Do you have any idea what you put us through?" Security questioned Dad for like an hour, and I had to lug my bags through the whole airport. My shoulders still hurt. I looked at my sister, seeing her perhaps for the first time, not as the favored golden child, but as someone stunted by our parents' indulgence. "Stephanie, most adults carry their own bags. It is not an exceptional hardship." "Well, you ruined the whole vacation," she pouted. "Dad has been in a terrible mood. Mom keeps crying and the resort lost our dinner reservation last night." "I am sorry you have had a difficult time," I said genuinely, meaning it despite everything. "That was not my intention." "Then what was your intention?" My mother demanded to punish us, to embarrass us in front of everyone at the airport. The server returned with our drinks and took our dinner orders. When he left, I took a deep breath and decided to lay everything out clearly. My intention was to finally stand up for myself, I said quietly but firmly. For years, I have accepted being treated as less important than Stephanie. I have carried extra burdens, both literally and figuratively, while watching her receive preferential treatment in every situation. When Dad hit me and you both laughed and called me a burden, something broke inside me. I realized I deserve better from the people who are supposed to love me. We do love you, my mother protested. You have always been so independent and capable. We did not think you needed as much from us. Everyone needs love and support, Mom. Everyone needs to feel valued. I have achieved everything in my life, despite your lack of support, not because of it. And that is a sad reality for all of us. My father, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke. So, you upgraded yourself to first class to teach us a lesson. Do you know how childish that seems? It was not about teaching you a lesson, I explained. It was about finally doing something for myself, prioritizing my own well-being for once, and honestly, it was wonderful. I met an interesting person, had a peaceful flight, and have been enjoying a drama-free vacation since then. While we have been miserable, Stephanie interjected. Thanks a lot. Your happiness is not my responsibility. I said the words feeling revolutionary as they left my mouth, just as mine has never been yours. Our food arrived, temporarily halting the conversation. We ate in strained silence for several minutes before my mother tried again, her tone softer now. Anna Marie, we are family. Whatever issues we have, we should work through them together. Come back to our resort. Let us enjoy the rest of this vacation as we planned. I set down my fork and looked at each of them in turn. I will not be joining you at your resort. I have my own accommodations, and I am comfortable there. I am happy to meet you for specific activities if we can agree on them in advance, but I need space from the family dynamic right now. This is ridiculous. My father exploded, his forced calm evaporating. We paid for this family vacation and you are part of this family whether you like it or not. Actually, I corrected him. I paid for my own flight, upgraded with my own miles, booked my own hotel with my own points, and rented my own car with my own credit card. I am an independent adult, not an accessory to this family to be controlled and manipulated. My mother began to cry, dabbing at her eyes with her napkin. I do not understand why you are being so cruel. We just want to be together as a family. Mom, setting boundaries is not cruelty. It is self-care. And right now, I need these boundaries to protect myself from further harm. Harm, my father scoffed. Such melodrama. One little slap after years of providing for you. And suddenly, you are a victim. I felt a surge of anger but controlled it. Dad, you hit me in public because I refused to be Stephanie's personal porter. That is not acceptable under any circumstances, and it was just the most visible example of how this family treats me. If you cannot see that, then we have an even bigger problem than I thought. The rest of the dinner continued in this vein, with my parents alternating between guilt trips, anger, and occasional moments of seeming reflection. Stephanie mainly complained about how my actions had affected her vacation experience. I remained calm but firm throughout, refusing to be drawn into their emotional manipulations. When the check came, I insisted on paying for my own meal. Another small act of independence that visibly irritated my father, who was accustomed to maintaining control through financial means. As we prepared to leave the restaurant, my mother made one last emotional appeal. Please, Anna Marie, just come back with us tonight. We can talk more in the morning. No, Mom. I have made my decision. I am open to meeting again during this trip, but only if everyone can respect my boundaries. That means no guilt trips, no pressure tactics, and absolutely no physical intimidation. I looked pointedly at my father as I said the last part. Fine, my father said tersely. Have it your way. But do not expect special treatment when you finally come to your senses. I almost laughed at the irony of his statement. Special treatment had never been something I had received from this family. I expect only basic respect, I replied. Nothing more, nothing less. We parted awkwardly without the usual hugs or affectionate farewells. As I watched them walk away, my mother glancing back several times with tearful eyes, I felt a complex mixture of sadness and liberation. This dinner had not resolved our deep-seated issues, but it had established a new paradigm. I had spoken my truth clearly and held my ground in the face of their collective pressure. Back in my hotel room, I called Jennifer, my first-class seatmate, and filled her in on the confrontation. "You did well," she assured me. "The first boundary conversation is always the hardest. It gets easier with practice." "They acted like I was being unreasonable and cruel," I said, still troubled by their reaction. "Of course they did," Jennifer replied. "You disrupted the family system they are comfortable with. That feels threatening to them. But you planted seeds tonight that might grow over time, especially with your parents. Your sister may take longer." I hoped she was right. Despite everything, I did love my family and wanted a relationship with them, just not the unhealthy one we had maintained for so long. "What now?" I asked her. "Now you enjoy the rest of your vacation on your terms," she said firmly. "The work you started tonight will continue when you get home. This is a marathon, not a sprint." After we hung up, I stepped out onto my balcony and listened to the sound of the waves breaking on the shore below. For the first time in my life, I felt truly independent. Not just financially or physically, but emotionally. I had faced my family's disapproval and survived. Whatever happened next, I would face it from this new position of strength. The remainder of my Hawaiian vacation unfolded in ways I never could have anticipated. Free from family obligations and expectations, I discovered a side of myself that had been suppressed for years. I went snorkeling at Molokini Crater, watching colorful fish dart through coral formations. I hiked the Waihi Ridge Trail, marveling at the lush greenery and breathtaking valley views. I finally took that surf lesson I had originally booked, laughing as I repeatedly fell off the board before managing to ride a small wave all the way to shore. Each night I returned to my hotel room pleasantly exhausted and deeply satisfied. I posted photos of my adventures on social media, something I rarely did, and was touched by the supportive comments from friends and colleagues. My family and I maintained a cautious distance. We met once more for a prearranged lunch 4 days after our initial confrontation. The atmosphere was strained, but less combative than our dinner had been. My father was notably subdued, watching me with an expression I could not quite decipher. My mother made awkward attempts at normal conversation, asking about my activities with forced brightness. Stephanie remained self-absorbed, but seemed less antagonistic. I encountered them accidentally one other time at a popular lookout point along the road to Hana. I had arrived early to avoid crowds and was preparing to leave when they pulled up in their rental car. We exchanged awkward greetings, and I noticed my father looking at me with an expression that almost resembled respect as I described the hidden waterfall hike I had just completed. "That sounds challenging," he commented, the first neutral remark he had made since our airport confrontation. It was, I acknowledged, but worth it for the view. A brief moment of connection flickered between us before Stephanie complained about the heat and diverted everyone's attention. I excused myself shortly after continuing my solo exploration of the island. On my last evening in Hawaii, as I watched the sunset from a quiet beach, I received a text message from my father. "Can we talk privately before your flight tomorrow?" I agreed to meet him for breakfast at a cafe near my hotel. When I arrived the next morning, he was already there, looking older and more tired than I remembered. "Thank you for coming," he said as I sat down across from him. "Of course," I replied, curious about what had prompted this private meeting. He stirred his coffee unnecessarily, clearly uncomfortable. "I have been doing some thinking," he finally said, "about what happened at the airport. About a lot of things, actually." I waited, giving him space to continue at his own pace. "I was wrong to hit you," he said, the words seeming to cost him considerable effort. "There is no excuse for that. And I am sorry." "Thank you," I said simply. "I appreciate that. Your mother and I have also been talking," he continued, "about the things you said at dinner, about how we have treated you compared to Stephanie." He paused, looking out the window at the palm trees swaying in the morning breeze. I am not sure we can see it exactly the way you do, but we recognize that you have felt overlooked. It was not a complete acknowledgement of the favoritism I had experienced, but it was more reflection than I had ever heard from him before. The truth is, he continued, you have always been so capable, so self-sufficient. You never seem to need us the way Stephanie did. But that does not justify taking you for granted. No? I agreed. It does not. I am not good at this, he admitted, gesturing vaguely, talking about feelings, acknowledging mistakes, but I am trying to understand. That means a lot to me, Dad. We talked for nearly an hour, having the most honest conversation of our adult lives. He shared perspectives I had never considered about his own upbringing in a strict household where emotional expression was discouraged, about his fears of failing as a father, about the different challenges he perceived in raising each of his daughters. I shared my experiences too. The pain of constant comparison, the burden of being expected to be perpetually self-sufficient, the loneliness of achievement without recognition. He listened more attentively than he ever had before. We did not resolve everything in that one conversation, but we established a foundation for a new kind of relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than authority and obedience. What happens when we go home? I asked as our meeting drew to a close. I cannot promise instant change, he said honestly. But I can promise to try and to listen better when I fall short. We parted with a somewhat awkward but genuine hug, the first real embrace we had shared in years. My return flight to New York was another first-class experience, courtesy of my frequent flyer miles. My family had an earlier flight to Boston, so we said our goodbyes at the hotel. My mother hugged me tearfully, whispering, I do love you, Anna Marie. I always have. Stephanie gave me a quick perfunctory hug and immediately began complaining about having to repack her numerous bags. In the 6 months following our Hawaii trip, subtle but significant shifts occurred in our family dynamic. My father called me regularly, awkward at first, but gradually more comfortable, showing interest in my work and life. My mother made efforts to balance her attention between Stephanie and me during our phone conversations. Though old habits occasionally resurfaced, Stephanie remained the most resistant to change. At Thanksgiving, when I refused to rearrange my schedule to accommodate her last-minute change of plans, she accused me of being selfish. But instead of backing her as they would have in the past, our parents suggested that Stephanie adjust her expectations. Anna Marie has her own life and responsibilities, my father said, earning a shocked look from both Stephanie and me. Perhaps the most meaningful change came during a family dinner celebrating my 27th birthday. As we finished our meal, my father raised his glass in a toast. To Anna Marie, he said, his voice uncharacteristically emotional, whose strength and courage have made our family better. I am proud of the woman you have become. The words I had waited a lifetime to hear. Not every interaction with my family is perfect now. Old patterns sometimes reassert themselves, and I still maintain firm boundaries about what I will and will not accept. My relationship with Stephanie remains complicated as she struggles to adjust to no longer being the unquestioned center of attention, but the power dynamic has fundamentally changed. I am no longer the overlooked daughter desperately seeking approval. I am a woman who knows her worth and requires respect. Some days that feels like the greatest upgrade of all, far more valuable than any first-class seat. Looking back on that day at the airport, I realized that my father's slap, painful as it was, ultimately gave me the clarity I needed. Sometimes it takes a moment of crisis to break patterns that years of subtle manipulation have established. The path to healing is rarely straight or simple, but each step toward authentic self-worth is a step in the right direction. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members who took you for granted? What helped you find the courage to stand up for yourself? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please like and subscribe to see more stories about overcoming family challenges and finding your voice. Remember that choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary for genuine relationships built on mutual respect. Thank you for listening to my story, and may you find the strength to honor your own worth in all your relationships.